Welcome to A1TV, the Mark Show. Another evening, another Thursday night of entertainment. A guest of difference, a guest from the Geelong region of Victoria, and a person that when you meet people and the 6 degrees of separation comes into play. This man, we had a chat a few weeks ago, and it certainly is that 6 degrees of separation because we know many people from many walks of life. So, Carson Brooks, welcome to A1TV, the Mark Show.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here. It's amazing how small the world is, isn't it? When we had that coffee and especially with the degrees of separation with people we know not only here in Geelong but in Tassie as well, being such a small place.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now, Carson, I want to take you back because I'm really interested in what you're doing today, but I want to take the viewers, the listeners on a story about your life because what you do is fascinating to me. It's an interest I have, and as a marketing media person myself, I'm really interested about how you've been able to make a business out of it. But first of all, take me back to where your upbringing started in sport you played as a kid.
So I grew up in Tassie. We started in Devonport, moved to Georgetown, which is right next to Lonnie, and then down to Hobart. And I was exposed to cricket and footy at a young age. In fact, my first ever footy coach was Jack Rewalt's dad, Cabbage. So I've got very fond memories of him coaching us in under 10s. And then I think cricket was my main sport that I excelled at, I guess, at a young age, and was fortunate enough to play Premier Cricket in Hobart from the age of 12 onwards.
Some of the players you come across and some of your early memories of your cricket career, you always have some skill and you thought, okay, it certainly is a game of cricket that I can really take further. How was the development of cricket through your junior years and some of the people you play with that have gone on and maybe, gone to a really high level?
We were really lucky in the era I grew up with. We probably didn't know it so much at the time, but we got to play with and against some amazing players. In the state development system, I was fortunate enough representing southern Tasmania to play against Ricky Ponting in the north. And that was at a young age, and we continued to play with and against each other for a number of years. In our club side, when I was a youngster, I think our captain was Keith Bradshaw, who ended up being the MCC CEO at over in London at Lords. More recently, over in South Australia at the cricket ground there, he was CEO of South Australian Cricket. He was an amazing mentor for me in particular, growing up through that period. But, Rod Tucker, now gone on to umpiring. Mark Atkinson was wicketkeeper. Good mate of mine, Colin Miller, ended up representing Australia. In fact, I remember the first time he started bowling off spin in the nets at the club nets, and they were ordinary. And to think, within 2 years, he went on to represent Australia and even I think he got Cricketer of the Year award. It was just an amazing dedication from a guy who's was a bit of a cricket journeyman. There were actually lots, Jamie Cox, Jared Denton, Michael David. These guys were not only fantastic Tasmanian cricketers and also represented other states, but they went on to much higher levels as well. And be fortunate enough to go through that time as a very young teenager was an amazing experience.
Did you play with Mark Ridgway?
Yeah, well, I didn't play with Mark. I think I might have played 1 or 2 games against him. I know Mark. I think our connection came about probably through some of the names I've mentioned. I end up being good mates with and still am, and I've got a connection with Reggie still now, and we chat every now and then on Facebook, usually over political or sporting issues. But I think I first connected with Reg probably when I was head fitness coach of the Shield side back in the late 90s.
Just on that, so you actually got involved, you obviously played the game, and then did you start to think about, life after sport or getting involved with sport in Tasmania? Is that where your love and the game and the involvement in communication, in marketing and coaching come about? Is that where it started for you?
I guess some of it did. My main perspective was I actually did quite a nasty shoulder injury when I was about 16, which really challenged or even held a big part of my career for cricket at least. I even spent some time doing a bit of AFL umpiring during that period, which was interesting. I have a very good appreciation for AFL umpires. Geez, they cook a lot. I was fortunate enough to be involved in a talented athlete pathway program, and we ended up doing a lot of work on sports science and all the correlating matters that lead to high performance sports. So that included business aspects. I think my biggest interest lay in the sports science side of things initially, because I wanted to, fix my shoulder and improve my performance and give myself a best shot at what I could, whether it was having a go at cricket, athletics, or Aussie rules.
So life after sport, you went to school in Hobart or Devonport?
Yep. Hobart, Clarence High School. Yep.
Yeah. And then life after sport. So what was your first job outside of sport? You talked about sports science. We talked the other day about Ricky Langford and some of the people that you got involved with at elite sport in Tasmania. Where was your first role that you found your pathway into today? What was that?
It probably started, I went out and got some casual gym work, working at reception at a gym that's no longer in Hobart. It was called City Gym at the time. And it started there, and I guess my interest was going alongside that and also doing some study. And not long after that, I actually moved to Newcastle, and I did some more study up there, and I ended up doing a bit of work with Newcastle Knights just as like an intern, learning off the strength and conditioning coach there. And I guess that's where it sort of I really found a passion for it, and I wanted to find out more about the science behind it, and not just some of the generic fitness information that we were getting. I delved into lots of books by legends of strength and conditioning. A guy called Tudor Bompa from the Eastern Bloc focused on something called periodization of training, and I really found a niche for myself in that particular area. It was once that I got a good understanding of what that could do for managing peak performance of athletes. I was able to transfer that into a lot of the athletes and the clubs that I was working with.
Talk about your travel, because I know you did some traveling overseas. So tell me about how it went from, obviously, Newcastle you talked about, but what you did overseas and what that taught you about yourself and the business you were in.
Yeah, so in the early 2000s, I went across to the UK with my then partner, and the idea was that we would get an opportunity to get some life experience of travelling around Europe, get to play some cricket, and look at some different opportunities in work. I was given an opportunity to work with who's now a lifelong friend, Paul Brown, who's probably globally recognised as one of the industry leaders in sports and health club businesses. And he gave me an opportunity to work alongside him, which took me to places like São Paulo in Brazil, Bangkok in Asia, right throughout the US, and as close to home as New Zealand, and got the opportunity to help those industries and in particular individual businesses improve their commercial outputs, both through a retention side of things and also through how they can improve their marketing and generally commercialise their operations more effectively. And that's probably where I've ended up being in the last sort of, 10 to 20 years, that's where my expertise really lays, is commercialising operations, whether it's been for amateurs or professional organisations.
And then you found yourself in Geelong. The biggest network in Australia, Geelong is, because everybody knows each other. And Carson Brooks on A1TV, the Mark Show. You've got your new business now.
We're Click Sports Media. So that was really born out of lots of experiences from, I guess, being a younger athlete through to the professional business experience that I garnered globally and throughout a few different industries. Coming back from the UK, keeping in mind when we moved over there, it was probably going to be for, 12 months, good cricket season, and then we'd see how it goes. And then I think it was about 7 or 8 years later, we came back with 2 children in tow that were born over there, and I ended up getting back into the industry here up in Werribee, near where you used to be with the Werribee Footy Club. I was Chief Operating Officer there. Part of what I found, I had a 5-year contract, so I was planning for what I was going to do when I finished that contract. And I looked at a lot of research into how amateur clubs are presenting themselves in attracting and trying to retain their membership bases of players, and also attracting sponsors. And I guess what I found overall, and you've probably found the same through your business, Mark, is there were a lot of clubs out there that had somebody who knows somebody that maybe did up a little website for them, or they used a free website off one of the sporting bodies platforms. But really what was presented and what is still presented for a large number of clubs these days is quite an amateur looking website that's often not functional and difficult to navigate. Out of this, we saw an opportunity to look at this space where I conducted a worldwide search on finding a partner to do website development where clubs could actually do it themselves. So what we've set up is a number of premium themed sports website templates, so clubs can actually look like a professional AFL club, soccer club, cricket club, and so forth, without the expense, and they don't need to know coding. So it's just like Squarespace or Wix out there, except the template's already done for them with a large amount of the content structure in place. So all they need to do is drag and drop, don't need to know any coding, replace their logo, change their club colours, and away they go. And off the back of that, we've had a number of clubs already increase not only their retention, but I guess more importantly, they've done two things: is they've attracted a number of new and higher value sponsors, but also attract a number of new players and parents into their clubs through having that sort of professional, appealing website. It doesn't mean we get rid of things like Facebook, although there are dangers of just having everything sitting on Facebook. We saw what happened on 5th of October just recently when I think Mark Zuckerberg lost $8 billion in a day. Nice to have that through their platform going down. So having all your eggs in one basket in a platform like that doesn't yield a great digital presence for people to look at. But a combination of those put together will really help. And we've just recently acquired a sports graphics platform, and we're developing a sponsorship app to go in line with our current website offerings. So that way, what clubs can do simply with the sports graphics, instead of having somebody pull something together after the weekend, they can actually do live photos, live score updates, and have a really professional looking sports graphic come through straight to their social media platforms or even their websites as well.
Carson, I'm curious. Obviously, you and I work in the same area of work and business. What do you think the best way of networking? Because I reckon your business idea is fantastic, and you and I have met, discussed it at length. What's the best way of networking, do you think? Because you're trying to get your business out there to the bigger, wider market, and not only. And I'm going to ask you about in a minute about what you think about living in Geelong and how great it is. Is it? What's the best way to network with people, do you think, in your eyes?
Okay. Yeah, in my eyes, it's not rocket science, and it's come back to the age-old principle of reaching out to people and without having a end agenda in mind. So I actually sort of reverse cycle it in the perspective is you may want a sale out of what you're doing, but if you go in with the mindset of that you need a sale with the person you're trying to connect with, you're not going to be present-minded to be able to engage in really developing a solid relationship. And at the end of the day, if you can really listen well and understand about the other individual with the aim of developing, at the very worst, another new friendship in the wonderful industry that we have, then I think you're always going to come out winning on that regard. And that way you can really develop those solid relationships. So when people are ready to buy from you, then they'll naturally make the choice to somebody they like and are comfortable with, rather than the bloke who tried to pressure sales them. So it's about taking a little bit of a longer approach to it, but it's also about reaching out. That's done in traditional methods of having a cup of coffee, having a beer, or through electronic means. But it's about what can I give you first before I take from you. So it's about providing really useful content that could be beneficial. So your show that you're doing now, I think, is a great way of also hitting out to people and getting some content out there that our sports club administrators can really take value from and then be able to implement. And I think when they get that sort of information and they're getting it without paying for it, then that's the way we best get our network results.
For what it's worth, I think it's a Tasmanian philosophy. It's my philosophy anyway, is that you're brought up in Tasmania. You're a bit of like a country type communicator where you take time to get to know the person. And
Yep.
I'll come back to Geelong. I never thought that I would actually enjoy Geelong as much as I do. And I'm going to ask you a question. What does Geelong give you as a person as far as the networking space go and the area that is Geelong? How do you feel about it? How do you find that?
Oh, the interesting thing is just over 10 years ago, I guess coming directly back from London to Geelong, being a bit of a nomad living in Sydney, Newcastle and Hobart, I hadn't sort of really had a settled home for a long time. So finding Geelong, the first thing I did was I went to, I think it was the Geelong West Cricket Club, and I had a hit out there with the boys there. I didn't last too long with some injury at my age there, and the same with footy. But being able to get out into the sporting clubs is one of my lifelong enjoyments, is being able to go into a new place and forge quite often lifelong friendships through that environment. It's one of the best, I think, life educators, is being a club participant, whether it's being part of the committee or whether it's actually being a player or a supporter. You get to yield those friendships through a common bond and friendship. And I think really Geelong's a lot like Tassie in a way. I found a lot bigger, obviously. I think we've got the population in Greater Geelong of the full population of Tassie. So, it takes a little while to sort of get it in, but using that sort of same Tasmanian country mindset, it's been fantastic for me. The connections I've made through local cricket and football in particular. I've developed some lifelong friendships and reacquainted some friendships from days gone by as well in different areas.
Even some trivia might play on certain times of the week, but that's another story for another day. But just the thing is that also one of the guests on this program coming up in the next few weeks is Chris Shine, and Chris he's a Glenroy person where I grew up. You know him through Masters football, so you actually still have a kick or a mess around with Masters football.
Yeah, I think my teammates would probably say mess around and occasionally come off the bench, but I love my footy, and the focus down at Geelong Masters is really, we play footy for fun, but it's also competitive, and what it probably really gives us is two things. It gives us an outlet to, I guess, do some physical activity at an intensity that we may not otherwise do. Chasing the leather ball around at training on a Tuesday or a Thursday night is far more appealing and enticing than just going for a run for 5 kilometres. And there's no way I'd get the same sort of intensity level if I did that. So that's one benefit, but probably the most significant benefit is the mental health aspect, which is something we really drive heavily about the connectedness, particularly us older males, and really driving the message of mental health. I know we've got a strong connection there with Beyond Blue, but we pretty much run all year round with the winter competition. We play Metro, and in the summer we have a summer nines competition, which kicks off in a few weeks for us.
Yeah, there's a word I wrote here, and I'm going to ask you about it. What does the word entrepreneur mean to Carson Brooks? Because I think you're an entrepreneur. I think that the way you develop and way you work with people is really an excellent way. And any sports club, Click Sports Media is where you want to go if you need any requirements for anything in your marketing communication. As that little thing behind Carson talks about, chat, whatever you want to talk about. So what is the word, Carson, what does the word entrepreneur mean to you? I suppose, question without notice.
Yeah, look, for me, it's been a big part of my life for many years. I've been very, very fortunate enough to have some amazing mentors. When I was at Western Leisure Services as the Executive Chief Operating Officer, I was very fortunate enough to work with Eugene Rocker, who was a board member and as you probably know, former Collingwood and North Melbourne president. And getting exposed to people like that gives you an opportunity to really challenge yourself and challenge what it means, I guess, to be an entrepreneur. And I think it's a word bandied around pretty easy these days. If you just start a business, you become an entrepreneur. I think it's more than that. It's about what the totality you can not only bring for yourself, but having a purpose in being able to help other industries or other people. And I guess one of our key focuses in what we do is, especially coming through COVID, is we want to get people into sports clubs as much as we can, because we know what that does for people's mental health and physical health. And if we can give clubs a platform and a really cost-effective way to do that, to drag people in and also help boost the local economy through local sponsorships, then, that's where, if we can get a significant amount of clubs, not only Australia-wide, but worldwide, become more sustainable and more viable by embedding professional techniques, whether it be from marketing to governance to planning and on-field development, then these things are going to put these sports clubs in really good stead, and then their communities more so. So I think it's less about branding yourself an entrepreneur and more about what provided opportunities you can give others to help everyone win.
You got 2 kids. Are they sports orientated? 3 kids.
Yeah, I've got three actually. 2 younger daughters, and I've got an eldest non-binary child. And so my eldest, Fig, they have used to be sports minded and more sort of art focused now. My middle girl loves Aussie rules. Used to be a gymnast and is not really sort of focusing on anything too much except TikTok at the moment. And my youngest is an absolute passionate football girl. She plays down at Port Arlington and an absolute massive Dusty Martin fan, which I'm very happy about. So, so we try and maintain that we do some sort of sporting activity during the week. Even last night, we just went for a little kick across the park. She hadn't had the opportunity to do that in the last couple of weeks. So by giving the kids the opportunity to do that, then again, it's not only the physiological development, the aspirational development of what they may achieve in their sporting careers, but getting that life connection of friends and knowing what it is to be a team player as well.
Carson, the idea of this platform was to introduce different people from different walks of life, different backgrounds into the world of the space of media. Before I let you go, is there anything that I need to cover off with you that you want to share with people? If there's not, that's okay. But I just want to give you an opportunity to say or mention anything, or if I've covered everything, that's great, because Click Sports Media is the way to go. Make sure you have a look, Google it, have a look for Carson. If you can connect with Carson, make sure you can do that, because he knows his stuff. It's a really engaging conversation, and I'm sure that he can help you. So is there anything that you want to finish off with?
Look, if anyone wants to reach out, I'm happy to have a chat, whether it be over Zoom. I do like my beer, so I'm quite happy to have a chat over a beer and shoot the breeze. And my professional expertise that we're focusing on the moment is really the digital space and how we can help people in that. We, really working on the website production and sports graphics side of things. There's a few other things in the pipeline, like we said, the sports app that for sponsorship, which I think will be a real game changer for clubs to help them get better value for their sponsors. But look, if anyone wants to reach out, I always actually just love having a chat about sport in general, and whether it be the professional level or the amateur level, and shared experiences is going to help us all. So I think, certainly encourage anyone to reach out and drop me a line. Carson
Brooks, A1TV, The Mark Show. Thanks for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure you and I will cross paths very soon, and thanks for the chat.
Thanks, Mark. Too easy.